All right, Scavengers, welcome to the Six Scale Scavengers podcast, episode 38. Guys, I feel like this is kind of like a rebirth of the podcast. Chris, we're doing something that we have not done in 37 episodes prior to this. We're changing the naming convention of the podcast. I don't know. It seemed like it was the right thing to do. And we're gonna go. I don't know. Maybe we'll change it up. There's some podcasts out there that come up with some really clever episode titles. Everybody that's on YouTube, and gosh, we've already got 16 people tuning in. We had 2 people ready to go at 9 o'clock. We're just getting started here at 9:36 Eastern Standard Time. Seeing all kinds of those thumbs up already, which we absolutely love. So we're going to talk about some collecting encouragement. And one of the things we've done in the last couple episodes, guys, in TC is give more advice. I mean, obviously, we sometimes have had these epic collection updates to talk about, but really, it's fun to talk about the stuff we got. But I think it's more impactful for our listeners, for fellow scavengers, to kind of walk through what we're going through, the challenges. Like sometimes, like as what led to this episode title here is like, sometimes you just feel like throwing all the papers up in the air. You just like whatever plan you had, you just feel like even though it seems like it's going to work, it's hard. It's hard being a collector, but it's also very fun. And it's very rewarding, TC. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love talking to you guys every 2 weeks. I mean, we talk daily throughout the day, but to do that in this format every 2 weeks is one of the highlights that I get to do.
Yeah, man, the process is never finished. So once you think you're done, you're not quite there. So it's a fun thing, like you said. It's great talking to you guys. It's great interacting with everybody. So hopefully we can shed a little light on what we've been doing. Maybe it helps somebody. Maybe it's just comic relief. We'll see.
Hopefully a lot of comic relief,
yeah.
huh, Chris?
Yeah. And yeah, the collections are always changing. They're always evolving, and it's never a wrong time or right time, to switch things up or that sort of thing. So I'm interested to hear your shenanigans with the collecting, because every week I think every episode I think we're going to calm things down, but seems like they just keep on rolling.
It's fine tuning. So it's funny. So we posted something in our private group, and what we affectionately call the Scavengers, which feeds a lot of the content for our show and Steve's show, The Assemble. And it's funny because like I was just kind of like throwing a lifeline out there, like not necessarily saying it was like I had like an anxiety attack about it or something, but it was just like, guys, they just throw me a lifeline. And it's funny, like people were unwillingly giving me like really good advice that I felt like I felt like we should share with our larger listener audience here on YouTube and our podcast. So guys, we have one news item to talk about. We're just going to piggyback off of what's already been talked about in the Assemble. We're not going to regurgitate any of that other stuff. TC, you were able to be on the most recent Assemble. Chris and I were not. So we have a news item to talk about. We have our collection updates like we normally do. We're going to have our collecting pep talk, giving some of that encouragement to fellow listeners, and our feature figure review. If you're on YouTube, you can see this is a photo I took, and then Roy took it to like the nth degree. Like Roy is like the Photoshop master. He even added the lightsaber effect. And he was joking with me that he's like, I thought it was fitting. I told him, I'm like, Roy, don't worry about it. He's like, I know OCD stuff's kicking in. He's like, Bryan, I'm kind of bummed that for the first time that I had to change the positioning of our logo instead of in the upper right-hand corner to the bottom right-hand corner, because Yoda's got these big ears. And so I was like, well, don't worry about it, because we're changing the episode titles going forward. So it's all good, my friend.
Yeah, switching it up, like you were saying earlier. We've kind of learned that with the Assemble and some of the titles that Steve chooses, might get some more action on YouTube, which is, we always like to get some new listeners and viewers and that sort of thing. So we'll just kind of see how this experiment goes.
All right, guys. News item. Not really anything figure collecting, but it is related to figure collecting because, gosh, we love Star Wars around these parts. But Chris, I know that you've. We were just joking with you before we hit the record button. Some of those best discussions happen before we hit record, and you've had a trying few days in the virtual office, I guess I'll say, but I knew you were going to be busy and you probably weren't going to be checking your phone, but I made sure to send you a text message, and I was just like, I know you're going to be busy today, my friend, but if you get a chance, step aside, watch the Clone Wars final season trailer.
Oh man, and it was perfect timing. It was right as I was pulling into the account I was working at, so I flipped on that link and had the speakers in the car blasting, and got chills. And give me some Clone Wars, and it's just I cannot wait for this. Super excited. My buddy Justin and my other buddy David, we were at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago at the Clone Wars panel, and one of the best moments I've ever experienced in fandom is being there, sharing it with those guys, and just seeing all the actors up on stage and seeing the footage from the Clone Wars and hearing them talk about it. Oh, and now we're so close. Oh man, I just love it. And give me that poster. I need that poster now.
So we're referring to it on screen here for our listeners. It's the Star Wars: The Clone Wars. They're dubbing this obviously the final season. It's essentially season 6. And TC, I know that you had started up watching some of these, but I mean it's a monumental task to try to watch all these episodes before this premieres. I think the official Star Wars account tweeted out earlier today that if you watch 4 episodes per day, you should finish right before the premiere on February 21st. And that's just kind of crazy. But it's super good content. I know Chris, I know there's a certain order to watch it. There's a bunch of articles on the web. If you just search for the proper viewing of the Clone Wars order, depending on how they were released. They were originally on what, Cartoon Network, Chris?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't watch it when it originally came out. So
yeah, and I didn't either. But basically the order of how some of them are released weren't really what there was the intention of. So sometimes it's not like super jarring that some things happen before others, but it's something crazy. Like you watch a few episodes, like an episode from like season 3 to start it off, and then you watch like 2 of them from season 1, and then you watch the Clone Wars movie, which is essentially like 3 episodes smashed into one, and then it kind of jumps. Or it's kind of crazy, but as long as you follow it, at one point I had a whole list on a notepad on my iPhone. The order I was supposed to watch them in, I kept checking it off, crossing it off as I went, and I'm super happy that I ended up doing that. It was so fulfilling to finish that series, and it's so good. I cannot wait. And I think it's going to bring back a lot of those prequel feels. Chris, I'm already going to make an early prediction that the market for prequel figures is going to uptick as a result of this. I think you're going to find a lot of people looking for Obi-Wan, Anakin, Maul, Dooku. Commander Cody's getting ready to drop soon. I think that's going to be a big hit. And I'm not saying like the market's going to jump a ton, but if you've been casually hunting any of these figures, don't go out of your way to add something you weren't intending to. But if you were looking at any of these things, TC, I think now would be the time to kind of move on it, because you might end up paying a premium in a month or so.
Yeah, I just laugh because Anakin Skywalker Dark Side's been available for years, and now right when it sells out, you can already see a spike in a secondary market. It's like nobody wanted the thing, or they just made that many of them. Hot Toys just made so many of them where it just oversaturated the market. But I wanted to ask you guys, is this the final season? Was that something that fans knew, like this was going to be the final season? Or is it just they just happen to just make a new announcement?
No, they announced it at Celebration. They didn't. I can't remember if they told us how many episodes there were going to be, but I think there's 12 there's going to be 12 episodes, and we don't know length. I would assume that they're, 24 to 30 minutes long each, like the original series. So yeah, unfortunately it's awesome that we're getting this, because when they announced this, it was just like, what is happening? And we'll see how this story ends, but we know that many of these characters, either their stories were continued on in Rebels and in other canon content in comics and novels and stuff. And I mean, there's rumors that there's at least a couple animated series in development, Star Wars wise. Who knows what those will be? Well, we might have a good idea after this season is over, but yeah, I'm just,
I need to get watching.
You got to watch it, because seriously,
it's so good. Dave Filoni is the master, and Filoni we trust. That's a phrase, Chris, we used to have with the Brick City Blockade, and with any of the stuff that he did with the Mandalorian. He was involved with Rebels. I don't think he had as much to do with Star Wars Resistance as we've talked about. It's just not necessarily my cup of tea. We're not the target audience for that. Our kids are the target audience for that. But anyways, before we move on to the news and talking about the Incinerator Trooper from The Mandalorian, I saw a lot of chatter today about people asking for an Ahsoka 6-scale figure. And obviously, I don't think anybody is going to say no to that. For Hot Toys to do it, because they basically have the live action, TV and movie licenses, Ahsoka would have to appear in live action form for them to be able to do a figure. Now, Hot Toys has gotten around some things recently with video game licenses for, like, say, the Spider-Man PS4 game, some of the Contest of Champions stuff on Marvel for, like, War Machine Punisher, Venom Pool, some other things, but they're not usually outside of the War Machine Punisher. They're not really using face sculpts, so they're kind of getting around that. Now, if Ahsoka was to appear in a video game that they started making figures for, then yes, I could see that happening. I think the easiest path, or the path of least resistance, is if Sideshow is able to pull off a figure. And then I'm not sure that I would have a lot of confidence that they would be able to do that and do it properly. That's probably where it's going to happen. I know there's some statues and stuff that's been done. I mean, if you watch an assemble, Ahsoka's prominently featured in Steve's screenshot, like, all the time, which is just taunting Chris in that aspect. But never say never with collecting, never say never with Hot Toys, never say never with Star Wars. But I just wanted to just kind of throw that out there if people are really wondering where an Ahsoka Hot Toys figure might come from, because Chris, if somebody tunes into the early episodes of the Clone Wars, they're going to be so annoyed with Ahsoka.
Yeah,
and now she has now become she's easily a top 10 Star Wars character, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she is supplanted Scout Luke, and she's my number one Star Wars character. So it's just, yeah, she's my number one 6-scale figure since I started, number one that I would want. It'll be interesting to see what kind of products and that sort of thing we get from this series. We know Hasbro has been really limited in their action figures, 3 3/4 inch and stuff like that. So I don't really see Hot Toys getting into this unless it is like just an absolute phenomenon, or which I hope it is. But yeah.
It's really hard to see to convert the animated look into live. I know, like, the Star Wars Black Series did it with, like, some of the Rebels characters and stuff. It's kind of like their interpretation of what they would look like in air quotes real life, but it's hard. It's hard. I don't know. As we say often, we're not experts. If I'm completely wrong, I'll eat crow on that one.
Well, it's funny you guys say that about Ahsoka, because when I was watching the first episodes, I'm like, this is the Ahsoka that Chris
Yeah.
loves. I'm like
The
"Shit,
character
it's okay."
arc is
Yeah.
same thing that happened with Ezra Bridger
Yep.
in Rebels,
Okay.
but I don't think people loved him as much as they love Ahsoka. You're almost meant to not like them up front so that you go on that journey. I mean, Chris, how many young people? I know I just saw somebody. Gosh, I feel old, but Super Duper Paratrooper was just saying that he started watching it when they were 10, which obviously
Yikes.
that was 2008. I'm doing some math here, and I'm feeling really old. But
Yeah.
you know, people grew up with Ahsoka.
Yeah.
A lot of
so
other people found her afterwards, like you did.
yeah, and Chris, in the chat saying it, arguably best character development in all of Star Wars. So you get her when she's young, and then you see her go through all these trials and tribulations and life experiences and ups and downs, and so I think that's the biggest thing. People can relate to her at different levels and different points in her life. And I don't know. I didn't start watching Clone Wars. I mean, I saw the movie not in theaters, but when it first came out, but I literally don't even remember watching it. It wasn't until it came on Netflix when I reconnected and watched it, and then watched it again, and I'm now watching it for a third time around, and doing different ways. Like originally I watched it all the way through, then I did the breakdown like Bryan did, and it actually was a better experience. And now I'm just picking and choosing, some of the arcs and stuff like that. So anyway, didn't think that was going to go that long.
Well, you know what? We used to podcast about Star Wars, Chris. So this is
Yeah.
kind of our substitute to kind of do that, and also kind of give TC a little bit of an education about it, getting him to get a little hype
I'm
for
intrigued
it too.
because everyone loves this stuff, but I'm a little bit hesitant, but yeah, I'm gonna watch it through in the next couple months.
And season 3 is really when it starts to pick up.
Yeah,
so I'm not saying you have to sludge through 2 seasons to get there in 40 episodes or so, but it's really when the character models, the computer animation got even better, and the stories got better, in my opinion too. One more thing before, speaking of your buddy Justin, Chris, he did quickly point out that they have done some of the Battlefront figures, the Snow Trooper, and they have done the Shock Trooper. So I don't believe Ahsoka has made an appearance in the Battlefront game. So obviously, EA, if you're listening, Ahsoka needs to be in that game so we can have a figure.
Oh man, that figure sells so good.
Make all the money. So all right.
Yep.
Anyways, enough stalling here. Let's talk about this news and talk about the Incinerator Stormtrooper. This came out on Monday, and gosh, this thing like broke the collecting circles. Like I know our buddy Cletus, the Hebrew Hammer, had, gosh, like in our group, like the end of last week, had said something about, the Funko Pop was released of this. I know that's Steve's favorite topic, of the big heads and the googly eyes and the bobblehead. But they had released I don't know if it was a chase or an exclusive or something. I'm not really into the Funko scene all that much anymore. But obviously this Incinerator Trooper was teased, and he speculated like, when are we going to get this figure? Little did he know Monday was going to roll around. TCI chimed in. I thought this was better than a 50% chance to get made. Obviously, it's now 100. So obviously this is the Incinerator Stormtrooper from the Mandalorian season 1. I think it showed up in chapter 7 or chapter 8. TMS 012 in the television masterpiece series got a retail for a very reasonable $228. It is basically a basic Stormtrooper, but it does have the red shoulder pauldron. It has a pretty detailed fuel backpack, and I think the star of this figure, TC, is the flamethrower, and the flame effect is, I think, pretty darn good. Like kind of on par with maybe some of the bases that we saw for like the Spider-Man disguise figure, the stealth Spider-Man suit.
Yeah, I mean, this is a solid figure. I'm just looking at it right now on the screen, and like you said, the fire effect is really well done. I like troopers that are like this, where they had a specialized, like they're specialized. This is clearly it's the specialized, and I'm saying Incinerator Trooper. That's the name of it, but the one that lights up the entire, I guess that inner room that Baby Yoda and the crew was in before it gets destroyed. But I like the fact that he had a specific task, and he was highlighted in the series, and I think that to me is pretty intriguing. And I mean, it's just they take probably the best, in my opinion. It looks like it's a Rogue One, or not a repaint, but it has a lot of roots in the Rogue One troopers. I like those a lot. I like the design, the mask, and the profile of the mask. Obviously, the pauldron is really cool, and then the backpack is really detailed. So it has a lot of things going for it. It's also part of one of the best things to happen to Star Wars in a long time. So I don't know, if I'm going to get a trooper from the series, I'd probably pick this one over the Remnant Trooper, personally.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So Chris, I know Mike in our group already had the Incinerator Trooper helmet from the Hasbro Black Series, where they do for what they are. I think they're really decent, and he shared that also recently. Something he had picked up with a really good deal. This is growing on me, Chris. It's as our buddy Cletus had said, this trooper came in like a boss battle. If you're playing like a video game and you gotta get past an obstacle. I mean, that not only did it serve a purpose in that particular chapter, but it just looks cool. Color me intrigued.
I love the way he just like walks around, walks in on screen, is like, yep, I'm gonna do this, and he just lays waste to the the place they're hiding out in. But as far as the design goes, there's something about Stormtrooper with the red and having some killer pun intended armory or whatever. I love the look of this. I love the look of this figure all around.
It's a better shock trooper.
Definitely. I mean, the shock trooper does look cool and stuff, but this one takes it to another level. And this one's is definitely on my want list for sure. I haven't pre-ordered it or any of the ones from the figures from Mandalorian yet. I definitely want them all, but we'll see if the wallet can swing it. But yeah, if Hot Toys is willing to do figures like this, we can almost bet on getting some form of Death Trooper, a Scout Trooper, potentially, one that's a little weathered. I know everybody wants to get a clean one for like Return of the Jedi, but it's easy for Hot Toys to make two versions. So yeah, I'm in on this guy.
I mean, the chat's blowing up. We got 34 people tuning in live right now.
Holy
just
cow.
Quick shout out, like you mentioned, I saw Nick out there, Nick the Nerd, Chris B, Vader Undershorts, like you said, your buddy Justin, Mark Pearson in the house. There's a bunch of people. Jesse said, made it to the live show finally. Jesse, welcome. I'm probably missing a whole bunch of other people. Like I said, one of the best parts about doing the show, TC, is the fact that not only the three of us are chatting and interacting, but like there's a whole nother show going on with all the really comments here.
Yeah, they're going crazy. It's always great to see their conversations, and it definitely helps us in to add to the conversation as well. So yeah, Leonardo's on there, Wayne, Elvis,
Mario Cortez.
Oh yeah, the artist formerly known as Gare Bear.
Oh, can't forget Gare Bear.
Mike Collins.
Yep.
Yeah. So
it's anyway. Definitely actually up to 36 now. So and Mark 44 Prime. He mentioned earlier. We got Jason. Gosh, he said he's watching us on the TV tonight. That's scary. Like so it was funny. So before I was getting ready for the show, I was like, all right, I watched the Clone Wars trailer on my phone earlier. I want to watch it on the TV in the living room. And I keep forgetting like this goes to YouTube, and I'm like, I just quickly clicked on one of our older episodes, and I'm like, yep, there's the three of us there on my TV in my living room. Like that stuff still like it still boggles my mind. I still think of this, Chris, as like as a podcast. Like we're just a bunch of collecting nerds just huddled around our computers. You're in your root cellar. We're just talking about toys, and I don't know. Anyways, so before we go on to our collection update, guys, we did throw out like an informal poll in our collector community. We had 50 people. No, actually, we had 75 people answer this, which is crazy. At one point, Chris, we had like 10 people in the group. So the fact that we had that many, the poll was like, what are you going to do with the Mandalorian line? There's already a bunch of people chiming in on the chat of what they're going to do. I think we can. I'm not going to go too far out on a limb, but based on what we've seen already, this is the 5th figure. There's the Mandalorian, IG-11, Remnant Stormtrooper, the Heavy Infantry Mandalorian, and now this Incinerator Stormtrooper. Hopefully, I know somebody else mentioned earlier, we can see Keeley. Hopefully, we see Cara Dune. Some others I think would really make good additions to this. The Death Trooper reissue, Moff Gideon. There's just, they could keep going with this. But anyways, this has the makings of a good line already. Kind of, in my opinion, maybe potentially going to rival that excellent line from Rogue One, and it's all on theme. They're all, seems like so far, all really good figures. So we asked our members, what are you going to do? You're going to pick and choose, you're going to stay complete. And then there's a few people that were actually confusing the Mandalorian with a time machine. So we'll go with that one. So we had 5 people that were confused. We had 50 people say that they're going to pick and choose from the line, not get anything. But we had 20 people say that they're going to stay complete on the line. That's 5 figures now. I would anticipate, Chris, maybe this thing approaches 10. And if we consider the line like maybe season 1, obviously we know they're already filming season 2. Give me the baby Yoda. I would like to see the baby.
We need the baby, the child. I mean, everybody's talking about potentially a deluxe version of, say, Mando with his shiny gear and, the baby Yoda in like his little floaty egg thing. I don't know. I can't see it being its own figure, but maybe BB-8 was its own figure. And I think it would probably be better for Hot Toys to have it be its own, because it would probably sell, what ton?
1 million.
Yeah, 1 million.
I think this one's going to be a slow burn. Like, I think they're going to carry this through all the way up, next several months as we get near season 2. So I think, I don't know if the line ends in season 1. I think it'll kind of all blur right into season 2. I don't think we're going to get like a Cara Dune right now. I think the Beskar Mando with Baby Yoda is coming in the next few months. I think Moff Gideon might come before season 2. And I think, and then maybe the Death Troopers. The Death Troopers were there. So, and then a Scout Trooper. I think they're going to load up on Troopers. I'm not sure that we have that many more, but there are multiple seasons, so the line could get quite large. Yeah, TC, you make a really good point about maybe blurring. We as fans are going to think in the delineation of season 1, season 2, but I think Hot Toys is just going to view it as just the entire television series of The Mandalorian. So maybe there's not going to be, that split, Chris. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. That's all I have to say. And I'm sorry for the 5 members that think this is about a time machine. That's you,
a man DeLorean.
Quick shout out to one of our people in the community, Ian. He had tagged me in a post this past weekend, because I'll show some pictures in a little. One of the other firsts that we're going to do this episode too is during the collection update, actually show some photos from my own collection of some things that I unboxed finally. And because I've been posting about Marty McFly and the DeLorean and stuff, he said he finally was going to check out Back to the Future, which I'm so proud of him for.
Nice. I actually had that Marty McFly figure, and I never watched Back to the Future. I just liked the dude because he had a skateboard. I sold it years ago.
We love you,
Wow.
TC, but sometimes. All right, let's shift gears. Let's talk about the collection update. Chris, lead us off.
All right, I got a quick one. So I got Endor Luke in. He's up on the top shelf behind me. I just cracked him open real quick. Looks awesome. I love it. Especially, I didn't realize it that the Rebel Commando helmet has cloth on it, like has fabric. I was like, I would have bought this thing just for this helmet. And then to go with that, I got the Sideshow speeder bike. Just snagged that from the UPS store this morning, and my daughter's like, "What is that? What is that?" And I open it up, and she's like, "Oh, something my dolls can go on." I'm like, "Nope." So eventually that'll get set up together. I know Steve and several of the other members have gotten Luke up on there. It's not the best fit, but it still looks pretty cool.
Yeah, Jason in our group posted some photos of that.
Yep. So, and then I had mentioned last time I was selling some of the So-So Toys figures that I'd picked up. So I did sell Logan and Elektra. So money back in the funds. Kind of wish I didn't buy them, but we learn. We live and learn. So, I mean, that's it. That's it, guys. How about who's next? TC?
TC.
Yeah, I'll go next. So a few things. Number one, I told this on the Assemble. I traded my Hoth Leia and a little bit of cash for Gladiator Thor. So I'd already done a trade with Steve before to get Gladiator Hulk, and I felt that I needed the Thor to go with it, so I made that deal. I ended up okay. So just back up. I had Shuri and Black Panther. And I was kind of trying to do an Endgame Infinity War kind of setup with that. But then I was like, they're not part of the line. I do like those lines. So I was going to get ready to sell them. But then Eric Killmonger came out. And I was thinking, well, if I get the throne and then Killmonger together, I think that would be a pretty sweet setup to have all three of them. So I ended up doing that. And then I got T'Chaka on Amazon. So on Amazon, for those of you that don't know, I do grocery shopping on Amazon. If you do grocery shopping on Amazon consistently with their Amazon signature card, you get a lot of rewards. So I've been having those piled up for a long time. And so I got T'Chaka for really cheap for like $90. So that was a really good steal. And let's see what else I did. So yeah, I have the throne with T'Chaka sitting in it, Shuri on the left, Black Panther on the right, and then Killmonger behind it, elevated up on several of the stands. So I like that setup a lot. I'll have to give a picture to the group. And then after that, let's see, I did cancel the Asmus Gandalf figure. It's $350 that I don't know if I want to spend it right now, and I don't want to spend it without seeing in the final pictures. So I emailed Asmus directly, and they said they're going to refund my NRD. I don't know if that's going to happen. Don't really. They said if after the Chinese New Year I don't get a refund, let them know. I didn't expect that, but so we'll see what happens there. But that's canceled for now, and I also ended up reacquiring Tarkin, which was so bad. It was just dumb. I wanted to trade. I traded the figure for War Machine and a little bit of money to Bryan, and I was like, why'd I do that? I should just traded something that I knew, or just sold something that I knew I was, going to end up parting with eventually, like Iron Spider, which I'm going to do, but I didn't. So when I got rid of it, I was like, Krennic's on the way. I do want Tarkin back. So I ended up buying it. I didn't actually actively look for it, but Sean, sorry if I mispronounced your last name, Yutzi, he listed it in the group for a good price. So I ended up reacquiring that from him. And then finally, this has nothing to do with acquiring any figures. I ended up closing my Sideshow account. The reason why I did this was because I'd heard this talked about in other podcasts like Collecting Weekly. I think Bryan was talking about it in the chat. When you buy a figure from Sideshow, you get rewards. You pre-order figures through them. You obviously can use the payment plans, but every time you buy a figure, you're kind of hooked into that cycle. And I just got tired of being hooked into the cycle of banking future rewards and then making me want to come back for another purchase. I wanted to clear out all my pre-orders. And couple that with the fact that Sideshow now charges tax and their shipping's really high, I know I can get figures for better pricing elsewhere. And I know that I can use eBay to go international. I can go on BBTS and that has better shipping. I can go through smaller shops like Steven's Collectibles and go, that's no tax and no shipping. So if I were to get the Throne and Killmonger together through Sideshow, it would have cost me almost $60 more than it did through Steven's Collectibles. So all those together, I'm like, I don't need that anymore. And when you do that, they will give back all your NRDs. So I had $200 worth of NRDs that they sent me individually by check. And so now that's $200 I can put back into the collecting fund that I didn't have before. So I don't have a Sideshow account now, but I don't really need one, I don't think, at the moment.
Taking my ball and I'm going home.
Yeah, and I'll say this. It was not because, I'm so aggravated at Sideshow. It was just because, to help me out long term, I just felt I could source purchases elsewhere. And in fairness, even when I closed my account, I had a part on one of my figures that I needed replaced, and it was the nameplate to one of my Return of the Jedi Stormtroopers, and they sent it out. So even though I didn't have an account with them, they honored one of my prior purchases, and they didn't have to do that. So, props to Sideshow. I know they get a lot of grief from a lot of collectors, but they do some things right, and customer service generally is one of them. That's it.
Bold strategy.
I know. It is a bold strategy. I guess if it doesn't work, I'll just open an account in my wife's name.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Have you seen that meme going around of people like the wife asking the husband about like the checking account statement and what are all these MMS numbers on your account?
Oh yeah, it was Mila.
Those stupid taxes again. They keep getting us.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Oh man.
All right, so I'll go briefly. Just quick, just approaching over 40 people. We just hit 41. Like I said, a lively chat as well. TC really stirred the crew up, and yeah.
Hopefully not too many harsh comments back.
No. You emboldened them. Maybe that won't be the last person that gets it their account. So I'm withholding all of my statements about Sideshow at this point. All right, so I'll go. What I'll do first is I do have some photos to share, some things I was finally able to unbox, but I'll go through the normal changes. And obviously it's more than I thought it was going to be, but it's certainly not as much as it has been. So obviously last time out, guys, the Mark 47 reissue broke our podcast. Like it broke our, we were on the second figure, the best figure or something like that. Just went on this tangent for about 10 minutes about the Mark 47. I talked about it. It was really tempting for me that I had parted mine out, and I really love the figure, and I'd really love to have a complete one. Given the opportunity to repurchase it, I decided to go ahead and go that route and put in a pre-order at Big Bad Toy Store. And I also talk about a bold strategy, Cotton. I went with the approach of listing my current one as is in the group, and our friend Iron Geek 37 hopped on that. He shared some photos of the condition. He's a known customizer. He's one of the best in the biz, in my opinion. And he reached out to me. We came to a pretty fair deal, and so I kind of said goodbye to the Mark 47 for probably about 10 months or so, which was tough. But I rationalized it, knowing that eventually I'd be able to get the figure back complete, would have the head sculpt, the sunglasses, the base, the missile launcher thing that I had sold. I've regretted it ever since, and it's very rare we get to kind of rectify those. So, between the sale of my other one and the repurchase, the net increase was basically kind of rebuying. Actually, not even. I got a steal basically for going back and re-getting that stuff. The net increase was basically.
Sorry.
Yeah. It felt like talk about a time machine here. I felt like I was going back and re-listening to it.
Sorry, it was my phone just popped. The video popped up.
I think it's a good move, Brian.
Yeah, bold strategy there.
It would be funny though if they just
that was like Inception on the podcast.
I know.
What was that?
Funny if they canceled the reissue.
Oh man,
and you're out of 47. You're out of 47.
Let's not talk about that.
April Fools.
Yep.
In
Sorry.
January.
Man, that would be crazy. So, anyways, a couple other things. Speaking about that Tarkin, I ended up selling the Tarkin I got from TC to Steve because he's been doing some crazy stuff. Really, what it was is kind of a trade by funds, because really what I wanted was Commander Cody. So the funds I got from the Tarkin are going to be used to get a Commander Cody from Big Bad Toy Store. Speaking of Clone Wars, that was very timely. And finally completed a couple deals. I had been working with our buddy Mark. Ended up selling him my Emperor Palpatine and one of my loose TK Jedi Stormtroopers. Obviously, him and I like doing deals together. Happy to help him out. It's a very easy negotiation. Definitely wish all collectible transactions could be as easy as that. All right, so a couple other things. I had one of the most gut-wrenching... I'll show the photos in a second. I had last Friday, I had the day off from work, and I unboxed like a ton of stuff. And talk about going from... And you guys have the messages because of our private chat, but to go from the elation of finally opening the Hot Toys DeLorean and displaying that temporarily to busting the arm off my Winston from the Ghostbusters set, of a set that's 3 or 4 years old at this point. You can't just go replace something. Quick shout out. We give shout outs to Zach from Collecting Weekly, Dean, and the rest of those guys do awesome job. But Zach was, sometimes when something happens like that and people want to give you advice, and it's like the last thing you want to hear is like people telling you what you should do. It's like, I almost swore there like a sailor, but it's like, yes, I realize I broke the effing arm on my figure here. Just leave me alone. I just wanted to complain about it. And but to his credit, Zach, he's like, hey, I checked out Toy Anxiety. They have some of the replacement Blitzway figures. It's not the Winston one, but they have the 3 other Ghostbusters there. Decent price. So I checked that out. So I haven't made the swap yet, but man, like the shoulder joint just broke on Winston, and like the Blitzway figures are the shoulder joints a little bit more. There's more parts to it than the Hot Toys figures. You can kind of get the arm in a little bit closer and kind of at their sides a little bit more because there's like an extra shoulder pivot, and people in the YouTube are like watching me flex here. Like the podcast listeners are like, what the heck is he doing? So eventually going to make the swap. I ended up getting an extra just base body. I think I grabbed the race stance one to do that. Approximately it's about the same height, and there is an undersuit that Winston has. So I should be able to replicate it as much as possible. None of the skin shows underneath. So obviously, if anybody can't figure it out, there's a little bit of an issue there that this should hopefully. He has like yeah, I'm not even going to get into it. I'm going to dig myself a hole there. But anyways, just being creative as a collector. And finally, guys, what led to what we're going to talk about for the topic is just kind of really considering my options for future purchases of what I really want to do with it. And I think thinking more long and hard about module cases that are coming on the way on really what I want to do. I might be making some changes. I just listed a figure on eBay, my Falcon. I never thought I was going to put it out there, but I kind of banking on maybe that there's going to be a figure from the TV series coming up, Winter Soldier and the Falcon. If not, if they don't make one, I won't be sad that I don't have a Falcon. I do love the character, but TC, as you and I were talking before we hit record, it's like the Marvel figures. So why I'm kind of envious of the collection that you have now, especially picking off all the values that Steve had, is it works really good as an ensemble, but if you have only a few pieces here and there, it's better just to have some of your favorite characters than it is trying to like have sporadic characters from different movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a little different than Star Wars. I've noticed it just seems like with Star Wars you can get like a single Obi-Wan Kenobi, pair him with any of the Yodas, or you get any of the Lukes you can pair with Obi-Wan Kenobi. It just seems like you can do that a little better than with Marvel figures. Marvel figures, they work better, like you said, as a team from a single film or I guess future show. I don't know. To me, when I've had them, it just seems like you said, ensemble is the sum of the parts is greater than each individual figure. Even though Marvel figures by themselves are amazing, they're just together. It's probably an Avengers thing. I'm just so used to watching the Avengers, so
Right.
it's like I want them all together.
Yeah.
That you just don't get that with Star Wars. But that's what's cool about Star Wars, that you can have a bunch of these different standalone pieces, and it's just a different type of collecting, I feel. But hey, to each their own. So the fact that you want to do it this way, nothing wrong with that. It's your collection.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got it on the screen now for anybody on YouTube. I've kind of a early preview of what the collection is going to look like. Obviously, I'm still waiting on some Moji cases, but as I've kind of had the collection here, I just got my DX Jack Sparrow. When I'm comparing it to the DX15, I'm like, do I really need 2 Jack Sparrows? Like, had I waited to get the 15 in hand from, I've got that from Charlie in our group, would I've gotten the 6 too? I don't know, but so the 6 might be up for grabs. My Boba Fett from Empire Strikes Back, although we just reviewed him last episode, we kind of gave him the shaft in terms of a short review. I just don't have any of the other Empire figures, and I love Empire, but I love Return of the Jedi more. So I don't know. Those are different things that I'm going to have to prioritize what pairings and stuff are going to work. But anyways, bearing the lead. So I finally decided, even though I don't have my Moji cases yet, I'm like, I can't leave my DeLorean boxed up in my basement anymore. I need to display this thing. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to put it on top of my DTOFs. Now, I do have a little stand on the front right wheel so that it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go side to side. It's pretty stationary. It has not moved in a week since I've put it up. And I decided, and this is something that might help our scavengers that are looking to get the Millennium Falcon cockpit from Yoast. I thought I was going to regret sacrificing my Marty McFly to put him in the driver's seat. I can't tell you how much cooler it makes the display look. You feel like you're kind of, air quotes, like sacrificing the figure, but man, it makes that collection, it just makes it so much better to display. So, you know, people are kind of gone to crazy lengths to maybe get an extra Han, an extra Chewie to display, so they have it in their display case, and then also piloting the Falcon. I don't think you necessarily are going to regret doing something crazy like that. I think you might be able to kind of switch things around. And I know Chris B in our group was like, oh man, I could do like a New Hope one. I could do an Empire one. You know, if we ever get a good, decent Lando, you could do him piloting the Falcon.
2 Millennium Falcons.
Right.
That's the way to do it.
You need
Or
sequel
you could do
trilogy
like
one. You need the
sequel trilogy. You need to just get like 10 Millennium Falcons from Yoast. I don't think he would complain about that. So I did display that, and as I told you guys, it is just so incredible in person. Here's a photo of Marty driving it. It did take a little bit to kind of finagle the legs down and beneath. I mean, it's not as realistic that there's like a gas pedal and a brake pedal and stuff down there, but the biggest thing was trying to make sure he had enough head clearance so that I could close the wing door. Here's another side view, and somebody had said, like, it looks like I'm ready to blast the short troopers off the top of my display there as well. So I finally also got to unbox my Ghostbusters, and I just said, like I just mentioned, I busted one. This was just so cool. The boxes are incredible. They have like a fabric name tag on each of the boxes, and Egon was the first one I picked. I don't know why. I just love the fact that he's got like the EKG meter, and I don't necessarily think I have a favorite Ghostbuster. Again, I think they're better as an ensemble. I literally just started moving Winston's arm around and it snapped. And everyone's like, oh, just plug it back in. Well, I'm kind of hovering my mouse over it here, but there's like 2 additional shoulder pieces that attach in, and it's just like that little peg broke, and there's like no way I could fix it. I'm just like, what do I do? And of course, it's the second of the 4 that I'm opening, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna freeform. I'm just gonna have the arm dangling there. I'm gonna put the backpack on. I'm gonna put the proton pack on, and I'm just gonna see if I can hold the arm there temporarily. So that's what I'm going to do for now. I do have the replacement body already from Toy Anxiety. Man, they have wicked fast shipping from Arizona, and I'm going to look to do the swap maybe this weekend. But even with the broken shoulder here, guys, as a foursome, Ghostbusters are incredible. Like Blitzway, these are my first Blitzway figures. They're right on par with Hot Toys, in my opinion. The body's maybe not as good, but like the tailoring, the proton packs and everything, the ghost traps for these, it was such a cool experience. I just wish it wasn't ruined by the fact that I snapped the arm off.
Dude, when you were showing your first one, you showed your first one, was it Venkman?
Egon.
Yep. Egon. And then 5 minutes later you showed the broken arm.
I know, we're like,
and then it was like an hour later you didn't open the other ones. I was like, this is not gonna end well. This is not good.
Oh, I felt so bad.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I'm really sorry that happens. But yeah, you got the replacement. You can always look out for another Winston body in the future if you need to upgrade.
Yeah, it's Dan in our group is mentioning K.A. Kim is incredible. Obviously, she does work with Blitzway. I don't know if she's done any Hot Toys stuff at all. Matt's more of the expert on K.A. Kim than probably the 3 of us are, but yeah, I'll definitely keep tabs on Blitzway's doing. And, you know, I kind of went on this 80s nostalgia kick here with the Ghostbusters and Back to the Future, and I'm really glad to add them to my collection. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. Like the memories and stuff I had about opening some of these were, that's one of the reasons why we collect.
Hey, real quick, Derek says he still has the special edition 4-pack mint in sealed box. Has the value increased?
No.
For me,
tell us one.
I've already got one, but I have seen them going for 14 to 16.
Yeah, that set together is very valuable.
It's probably doubled.
Yeah,
I would say at this point. And it's what, 3 or 4 years old now at this point.
Couple years, yeah.
Very cool. I'm showing people my awesome astronomy background. I forgot to switch off when I did the screen share here. So yeah, a little bit longer collection update. I know I said, you guys, this is probably going to be a shorter episode, and we're already approaching a rather long one.
Holy cow.
All right. Anyways, let's move on to our topic. And this was one that I had said, you know, sometimes you have a plan, you have a budget, you want to stick to it. These are the figures that you're going to get. And yeah, not that, like I said earlier, not like I had anybody just join. 46 people tuning in right now, guys. I think that's probably a record for us. It's probably half of what Steve usually gets on the Assemble, but for a Wednesday night, just to talk collecting, you know, just three average collectors here. It's pretty cool.
Very cool indeed.
Actually, I don't think Steve's ever gotten more than mid-50s, so we're right on his tail.
All right, we're gunning for you, Steve.
Yeah,
it's going down.
We're all on a team, but we're still gunning for you.
Need a challenge.
So not that I was looking for a lifeline, like I said, not like I was having an anxiety attack about like, what am I going to do? Or what should I do? I guess that's probably the better question. Like, what should I do? Like, there's so many options. There's so many figures coming out all the time. There's considerations for your budget and space and display and new figures and stuff coming all the time that kind of really tug us as collectors. These are all things that we're not out there buying every single thing. We've mentioned that before, and we're certainly not experts. So I'd ask the question of our community. It's anybody else just think when they have this collecting thing figured out, you find your plan isn't as foolproof as you thought. And I added a meme of like throwing it was Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, just throwing papers in the air. And I don't know. It's just a really humbling experience. Like Chris, you and I started this podcast, and we've added great individuals like TC, Steve, Matt, Roy, of course, and then obviously this community just getting larger and larger, and has gotten larger even more since we've focused on these live YouTube shows. It's, I don't know. It not like I was needing help, but one of the things is people were chiming in, Chris, but they didn't realize they were actually giving some really good advice, not only just to me, but just to collectors in general. So I thought for the topic, before we get into talking about Yoda here, which is to kind of go through these, they're all anonymous. I remove the names and stuff. The people that are probably going to listen to this will be like, oh yeah, that was mine. But for the most part, for our listeners, hopefully they find this valuable.
Absolutely. All right. Who talks first? You talk
first?
Yeah,
I'll talk first. So I'll go through these, and you guys chime in after each one, and we'll kind of just keep going down through there. So this one was, this person said, I just appreciate the process of collecting. No matter how many times I change my focus in my collection, at the end of the day, it's all a blessing. And it's a good reminder. And the same person went on later on to say, the fact that these are some of the tougher choices that we have, we should really consider ourselves lucky as individuals. You know, it's what figure do I get, not like what bill do I pay. And it's sometimes it's good to ground things in that, where this is an escapism for a lot of us. It's something else to do outside of the daily grind from, you know, the working world. And it's a good reminder to know, like, this is for fun. This is what we're choosing to spend disposable income on. It is a blessing.
It's definitely a blessing. It's something to look forward to. You know, obviously you come home to your family and that sort of thing, but you know, sometimes you just need to unwind in your collection room, or, you know, maybe you've set aside that figure, whether it be a 3 3/4 inch figure, you know, a Star Wars, Transformers, whatever, Hot Toys, even, you know, Funko, whatever, you just set it aside, and, you know, you look forward to maybe opening it at the end of the week, like it's a goal or something like that. So definitely, it's good. It's a good way to look at things. You know, after I was grinding for 12 hours today at work, you know, I was looking forward to the conversation that we were going to have, and, you know, to talk about toys. I was, you know, just looking forward to that. So yeah, I like it. It's good stuff.
All right. Next one. They said, I enjoy the learning process and growth the most. Second to that is the fun in chasing and acquiring, in addition to the community. But despite all of that, forever changing and morphing into a more fine-tuned, curated collection, kind of TC, like what you said, it's your own collection. Do what you want with it. It's difficult, yes, but if it were easy, I think a lot of the fun and momentum would be lost. And I believe that the community between us would all make the community a great one. It makes it a great one to be part of. So always sharing, learning, growing, discovering, so on and so forth. Again, that's Chris going all the way back to episode 000. It's why we did this thing.
It is, and it's been a learning experience for us, and every step of the way. And it's fun, you know, discovering what other people do and how they collect and how they display and their paths that they've taken and that sort of thing. I love hearing about all that stuff. And, you know, one thing about collecting that we always talk about, it's you know, it's our own thing. You know, it's not like we're collecting for other people. We're collecting for ourselves. And we set up our collection the way we want. And maybe we're influenced by other people, which is always what art isn't, influenced by something else and that sort of thing. So I think it's great when we can morph and change and curate our collection the way that we see fit. And yeah, it's just, yeah, that's a great statement.
Yeah, it's great to bounce ideas off everybody, and it's great to share. But it's also, you know, it's your collection, so however you want to design it, you can design it. You're the one that sees it all the time, so You can curate it as you wish, but at the same time, it is great to learn from everybody.
So TC, this one was right to the point. They've come to the conclusion that sometimes the hunt is greater than the actual possession. So it's either hunting things down, looking for the deals, maybe it's completing a line, maybe just kind of, checking off that accomplishment, for video gamers, like getting the trophies and stuff on like PlayStation. So what are you thinking about that, TC?
For a lot of people, yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, the figures are amazing, but I totally get it. It's like a collector's mentality. Once you have the one, you're like on to the next one immediately. I mean, you want to appreciate what you have, but there's still, there's more to be had. There's more to be found. There's more to be searched. There's always a deal, that kind of thing. So I totally get that. I've kind of gotten to the point personally though, where I'm tired of chasing things. I just, now that I've kind of gone through the backlog, I've got a couple that I need. I kind of just want to just go forward at this point, but I get it, man. The hunt it's like an adrenaline shot. So
it's fun.
It is.
All right. So the next one, they see their collection as alive. It's fully growing, eventually evolving entity that can change and adopt as its environment, given the right conditions. Talk about, Mark's just saying, he's like, I'm not one to speak so good, but there are a lot of intelligent individuals within our community, talking about either new shelves or changing interests or finances or budgets. Collections can reflect that. Evolving's good. Leveling up. You can start over, and obviously none of us really want to start from scratch. I mean, sometimes some of us might want to feel like just like, screw it all. I just want to start over. You're going to have better knowledge. You're going to have better experience. Like I still find myself making a lot of the same mistakes over and over again. I really wish I would learn and take my own advice, but it just continues to happen. And again, they close it with saying, buy what you love, display what you love. I mean, that's one of the mottos of PJ, the Paradox Nerd, one of our good friends in the community. That's what he'll always say and end a lot of his videos with.
I was just thinking, all aboard the Black Pearl on Monday, all off the Black Pearl on Friday.
That's something I might do, but anyway, so Chris, on to the next one.
Yep.
This individual was a huge baseball fan, Cincinnati Reds fan, and talking about how even over time, having like 90% baseball in a collecting room and 10% Star Wars, and then eventually getting to the point where, they went on to say that they don't really care what other people think of their hobbies or interests. Like I said, people chiming in right now in the chat, Jesse's saying it's hard to find people understand collecting. The Scavengers community is kind of a helpful home away from home. Again, that's why we made this podcast. It eventually led to so much more that we're really glad for. But again, it's just another thing of just getting what they love and not caring what other people think, and being able to share that with like-minded collectors. But I think, Chris, the most important thing that this person had said, I don't think as collectors we'll ever be satisfied with our collections, and that's a good thing, because that's what keeps us engaged and interactive with everyone. If you just said, I'm closing up shop, my collection's exactly what I want it to be, you were a collector, but you're not really a collector anymore. I think it's that active phrase of collecting, which keeps us all coming back. It's why we have this show.
Right. Anytime I hear somebody say, I'm happy with my collection, I'm done.
You're like,
I'm like, yeah, okay, buddy. Nice try. Who are you fooling there? Because I've been collecting since I was a kid, and it's just ever evolving. And I just think about all the different things, like selling off some really nice comics when I was 13 years old to buy baseball cards. And now looking back and being like, man, you're an idiot. Like, what the heck are you doing? And it's like, well, I love baseball. Baseball was everything to me at that time. I did like comics and stuff, but they didn't mean as much to me then. But now it's like flip side. I did the whole baseball card thing, and I could never see myself going back. I just, you know, it's that collector mentality, that chase, trying to find that autograph, trying to find that rare card. You're never going to be satisfied. You're just going to keep on buying boxes and boxes of cards until you find that one. And then you realize, wait a second, I just spent $1,500 on boxes. I could have just bought the card for $200. It's like, so this area collecting is very unique because you get what you're looking for, and you can pay the high end dollar to get that really nice Hot Toys figure instead of chasing, buying packs of Hot Toys, looking for the rare one. It's funny, and as with like baseball or sports fans and stuff, the teams are always changing. The players are always changing. And that was a tough thing for me because I was just sick of all my favorite players just end up leaving the team. And it's not like I'm a fan of the player. Sorry, this is a tangent, but it just kind of that I can see why like he potentially would want to expand the Star Wars collection because the Star Wars stuff is always the Star Wars stuff. The sports team and the players are always changing and that sort of thing. So I don't know. This whole collecting thing is really funny and everybody goes through different avenue, but it's never wrong. But you might think that it's wrong or you made a mistake, but I don't know. It's fun to talk about it. It's fun to hear other people's stories. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
When you collect Star Wars or Marvel, you don't wake up on a Saturday morning, turn on ESPN and see your favorite player arrested for some DUI or something like that, and it ruins the entire value of your collection. So that's another plus of collecting.
Been there, done that.
Unless you're Tony Stark.
Hey, RDJ's untouchable.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So final comment, and it was funny because it was one of the final comments in the thread to one of our longer time members. Even just summing up the thread that I had posted, it was just saying that there was great comments from everybody, and just saying again, reiterating what I had opened with. If some of these are our biggest life problems, and cheers to all of us. And they were saying they've been at it probably longer than most of the people in the group, and just that we live in an amazing time with all these amazing collectibles. Quality and quantity are amazing. And they summarized it with just saying, just remember at the end of the day, does your collection make you smile? And ask yourself that question. Not like you need to do like that Marie Kondo, like, does this thing bring me joy or not? And if not, I'm going to throw it out. But, just saying, yeah, we can get in a pickle occasionally, but, a collecting problem is a pretty good thing to have.
Yep. Just bring happiness and thankfulness and that sort of thing. And we don't want to. I know, Bryan, you feel stressed and trying to figure out which direction.
Stress is probably yeah. Like even I said
collector
that.
Stress.
So that's not your mistake. That was my mistake earlier on kind of how I was describing it. But it's more of it's like a fun thing. That it's just like I don't want to.
Sure.
I don't want to make the wrong move. I think a lot of our collectors don't want to do that.
Yep. Yeah. And especially when you get into this area of collecting where that's not cheap, and it's like sometimes you get that FOMO feeling, fear of missing out, and do I risk buying this figure, buying two of this figure, and that sort of thing because it might be worth something. But what do we always say? Like, don't necessarily, buying stuff for potential increase in value down the line is a risky business. With some of this stuff, it's not like some vintage Star Wars stuff, prototype things where it seems like they're constantly going up in price. That's more of a investment type thing. Hot Toys aren't really an investment, even though they pretty much retain their value, or a small percentage loss, a small percentage gain. It's definitely
just a different ball game.
It's a different ball game.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
I just want to say,
that's right.
Like, vintage market. It's a set market, like you said. We're in the middle of the hot toys reign.
Yeah.
We don't know where it's going, so no one knows. I mean, if Hot Toys shut the doors tomorrow, you bet your bottom dollar every figure would. I don't know how expensive it would get. It'll get expensive real quick. But as long as they're making figures, you're right, like you said, you can't buy to hope that value goes up in the future for a lot of the figures. Plus, if you like a figure, you're not going to want to sell it anyway. So you may as well just get what you like.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, like Super Duper Paratrooper talking about Cletus buying 3 Mark 7s. Well, Cletus has and he has a plan. He has a specific plan that he's gonna the way he's gonna set them up and that sort of thing. And he can afford it. So it is what it is. I mean, people see, it even gets down. It's tough when you see Cletus buying 3 Mark 7s, but to some people, because it's like, it's pretty impressive that he can swing it. And, but
it kind of comes back to like the collection, Chris, like you said, or how you want to display, and maybe he's going to do one with a pod, maybe he's going to do battle damage, one in a Hall of Armor. Regardless, I mean, again, those might be the only 3 figures he buys all year. Who knows? I highly doubt it, but there can always be kind of an ulterior plan.
Absolutely.
So I don't even know if, guys, originally what we were going to talk about for a topic today, but this one just seemed kind of timely, and when the advice and stuff that we got, I thought it was worth sharing. So in a bunch of people in the live chat are already, a lot of nodding heads, and just like Steve leads off the assemble all the time. He still says he needs to read it off, which I find that weird that, almost 27, 28 episodes in, like even our opening, I just at this point wing it. I don't have anything planned about even before we record, I'm like, all right, guys, how do I want to lead this off? It's not scripted at all. I mean, we have an agenda that we kind of loosely follow, but what we say isn't scripted at all. But like he says, every single time, it's a bunch of broke Marvel and Star Wars collectors. Think of it a group therapy session for a bunch of broke Marvel and Star Wars collectors. I just messed it up, but you kind of got the gist there. But yes,
it's all about that collecting therapy, and it's just great to chat with everybody. I know, shameless plug for just before we get into our feature figure review, the Sandcrawler podcast, their action figure therapy, and I just love listening to them talk through their collections. They're mainly 3 3/4 inch Star Wars stuff, but it's fun to hear, everybody discussing how they're, what they're doing with their collection and that sort of thing. So anyway, let's talk a little bit more Star Wars.
Let's talk about Yoda from Attack of the Clones, MMS 495 TC. This is a figure that all 3 of us have. You were gifted this for Christmas from your awesome wife, and I have never gotten a hot toy for a gift. Chris has got it.
Very surprised, but very thankful.
Got it in hand. Yes. So let's go over the specs real quick for this. This was from Attack of the Clones, MMS 495. The original retail price was $189. Still in stock a lot of places, Sideshow, Big Bad Toy Store, or maybe it isn't on Big Bad Toy Store. I haven't looked recently. Chris, this original pre-order date was June 15th, 2018. It was right before we started this podcast, so I don't think we would have ever really talked about the pre-order production photos being out there. TC, the original the Hong Kong release for this was July 23rd, 2019. So it's been out about 6 months or so. My math's really bad. Yeah, that's 6 months, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyways, so this is something that's not necessarily a brand new review. This was a figure that I had in my top 5 figures of 2019 and got a good amount of votes and stuff. So obviously we're talking about a really good figure here.
Were you reluctant when you first got it in hand?
All right, thanks, Chris, for reminding me. So before I kick it over to our friend TC here, hey, you guys remember this? I opened it. I like the prequels. I'm not ashamed to admit that I like the prequels, and I knew Yoda. I know I needed a Yoda in my collection, and I just felt like this one was much better and much better done than the Empire Strikes Back version. So I was like, all right, decently reviewed. Our buddy PJ, the Paradox Nerd, did a really good 4K review of it. Matt spoke very highly of it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And obviously the first thing when Matt does his live unboxings in our group, everybody chimes in. I know Dean gets all excited. But like, it's tiny. I mean, it's Yoda size, but you just think you've got this normal Hot Toys box. You open it up and you're like, that's it. But once that disappointment subsided, this has definitely been a figure that's really grown in my collection. But yeah, you're right, Chris. So I initially opened this. I'm like, I think I made a huge mistake.
Or a tiny mistake.
Yeah, a very tiny mistake on a very large scale.
No, man, you didn't make a mistake. The figure's great. I mean, first of all, every Star Wars fan needs a Yoda in their collection. Can't not have Yoda in a Hot Toys Star Wars collection if you like this series. Second of all, to me, it's the better Yoda because I don't know. I don't like the prequels really that much, but the scene with Yoda and then obviously Dooku, but then also against Palpatine, the battle it's awesome. It was a really great scene. Just looking at the figure, he's got the rooted hair. His cloak is wired, so that's a pretty cool thing. If you get him in an action pose, you can futz with the cloak and kind of get it to match your pose. You can pretty much pull off any pose you want, which is great. And you can put him in a flight stand. You can have him like Bryan showing on the screen with his saber getting ready to attack somebody. Hey man, the sculpt is awesome and the paint job. It might be a small figure, but Hot Toys, they did it right.
I'm just kind of clicking through some of the images here, of which the original, blogger photos from like BG Toy Art and whatnot. They're just incredible. Like the detail is just there, like you said, TC. I think once I got over the disappointment of how small it was, I know Jeff was just, asking the question is how is it in relation to Rocket? It's just slightly shorter than Rocket, I think. So, I mean, that's basically the size figure you're getting. Now, Chris has got his in hand holding it up. And you said it's very, it's got a lot of good poses, and right in relation to a little bit taller than BB-8.
Yeah,
and man, it's just good. I mean,
I never owned the Rocket
really
figure.
Good.
I never owned the Rocket figure, but I can't imagine any of the ones released so far are better than this. All right. What do you think, Bryan? You've had Rocket figures.
Oh, this is far better.
Yeah,
the head sculpt is way better. I think. I mean, he's got a pretty. It's not a blank stare or anything, but it's cool how you can get him in different positions and his facial feature, even though it's kind of stern or whatever, it works, and the eyes just look awesome, and the hair, the whole figure works. I think, it's the prequel trilogy Yoda. You can use him in pair him with any of the other characters or
it's Clone War Yoda.
True. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Right in that time frame.
I'm still holding out hope for episode. I'm still holding out hope like DX-19 ends up being Emperor Palpatine from Revenge of the Sith. We get a go back to the double figure pack like we did with Luke with the DX-7. Get a Darth Sidious one and then a Chancellor Palpatine. I would buy that in a heartbeat.
That would be an amazing set.
I hope Hot Toys is listening. That's all I got to say. DX-19, lock it down. Once the real DX-19 comes out and it's not that, I'll be disappointed. But man, DX figures are great.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I know a lot of people want come up with their DX DX wants and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as this goes, I mean, he doesn't really. He's got some good accessories, but sorry, I'm just looking at the box here with the accessories in it. But he doesn't really need much else.
Yeah, it's got like the cane, the extra hands
Yeah.
that TC were mentioning, and this maybe is a caution to other scavengers. Like the claws on the feet are sharp.
Dude, I cut myself on those. Trying to change out his feet into like the flying feet, the curled up ones. Cut my hand. So watch out for that. I think the only bad thing, not bad, the only negative I have on the figures, it could have come with a second head sculpt. I think the Empire Strikes Back one came with a second head sculpt. So this one, I think, could have done the same.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have one with maybe a little bit more aggressive, facial features. But
I think you're right, Chris. I think this one serves the purpose. I mean, here's
Sure.
a couple of photos of like an action pose. Here's him kind of talking to Dooku in that hangar there. I think it's if they were going to give us one, I think it's suitable for everything. Here's a couple of shots of him fighting Dooku. Again, somebody just made a comment. Would they make an episode 3 one? I think this one, and I'm not a Yoda connoisseur. I'm pretty certain that he has the same outfit on in Revenge of the Sith, like that kind of the brown undersuit, especially when he loses his robe in the Senate chamber there. Like, I am the Senate, and he jumps in. He escapes there. So I don't necessarily think there'll be another one, but man, now that I'm actually talking out loud about it, I feel like there is. I mean, there's the lightsaber. There's the cool thing about the lightsaber is the magnetic thing where it attaches to his belt. That's really cool. So there's not a clip. The cane, he does have the force lightning. I think we have a shot at maybe of that. Yeah, kind of returning Dooku's force lightning back to him. So not really much more we can say good about this figure, guys. I think if a couple ifs. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a fan of the prequels, and I think if you've answered those two questions yes, then I think this is a figure you need to add to your collection. Forecasting, like, eventually this thing will sell out, and I don't think the market's going to skyrocket, but it's a little bit more palpable, TC, to pay $189 for this retail than it is to pay $300 aftermarket.
Yeah,
because then you're really going to feel like you get screwed on a per inch basis or per centimeter basis of paying for this figure.
Yeah, I mean, the Empire Strikes Back version, it's been sold out, but you can still find it for right around retail. It retailed for $200, and you can get it for like $200. Maybe $220 at some places, but on eBay, I think you can find deals still. So you're right. I don't think it'll skyrocket, but to me, it's a better figure than the other one. Just like Yoda not being old and, on his last days. I like seeing him as a warrior.
Yeah. Even though it was like 30 years later and he's,
it's kind of odd.
Yeah, it is. He was full of vim and vigor. And then 30 years later, he's done, but he lived for 900 years. Anyway, we won't get into semantics.
You can tear any Star Wars
thing
apart if you really try to.
I'm totally just doing it on purpose.
No, I know you're just messing it up. All right, guys, let's give this some ratings, and it all comes back to the child. It comes back to Baby Yoda. Even though it has nothing to do with this figure in particular. I don't know. Probably not. Not even a spoiler. We don't even know that.
I know.
I don't care. We're rating this thing on how many Baby Yodas does adult Yoda get. Chris, I'll go to you first.
I think he's 4.5 for me. I think if he had another head sculpt, I think would
you pay like another $50 for another head sculpt?
Good point.
No, the thing is, this one was $10 cheaper than the other one, with only one head sculpt.
So
But yeah, you're right. Inflation, hot toys inflation.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I'm right around that. I mean, I probably would have paid. I'm a sucker. I probably would have paid, maybe an extra $30 for it. But yeah. How about you, TC?
I actually am going to go higher. I think it was a little bit shortchanged right there with that 4.5. I'm going to go 4.99. I'm only going to go 0.01 off because of the head sculpt. Just
the first ever 499 on the
reason
podcast.
The head sculpt's just a want. I'm not gonna knock it for that. Even though I said it would have been better with it. To me, this figure is amazing. If you want a Yoda figure, go get this figure. Don't wait.
Man. Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of between a 4.75 and a 5. I think my initial reaction, like you guys said, would maybe keep me from saying it's a perfect 5. I'm gonna go with my standard. I can't do something crazy like TC and breaking the rating system with a 4.99. I'll say 4.75. It's a must buy if you're a Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've only got 2 prequel figures, and I'm probably not going to get any more. Maybe one more, and it's Obi-Wan paired with Yoda.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a good. I mean, if you're gonna have a pairing, that's a great one to have.
Yep. Yeah, we can't argue with that.
Oh, all right, guys. I don't think we're gonna approach the 2-hour mark this time, but certainly, I don't know. Chris, while I start doing all the sign-off thing, maybe check the group, just make sure there's no breaking news we need to talk about.
Oh my god!
No 47 to break us this time.
Nothing like that. I will say, real quick, I did see. I think it was Alberto from Costa Rica joining us, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw there's a couple names that I don't know if I've seen before. I see Juggernaut Jones, Curtis H. Jovini, I don't know if I said that right. Aaron, I don't know if there's a lot of new people. I guess with 47 people, we're going to have a lot more people kind of chiming in. Somebody asking about me selling my DX06. I definitely am going to do that. So I think it's out on the 16 Republic if you're not in our private group. And yeah, we'll go from there. So guys, I think that's a great wrap up on the show. We'll talk about our plugs and then get into our final thoughts. So we have if you're a first-time listener, thank you. First-time watcher, thank you. We have our website, sixscalescavengers.com. We have checklists for Marvel, Star Wars, and Azimuth, Lord of the Rings, and The Hobbit. Obviously, if you're watching it here, you know we have a YouTube channel. Give us one of those likes and give us a subscribe to. Obviously, this is an adult-focused show, and due to the stupid COPPA things, guys, I didn't mention at the top of the show, this is definitely not for kids. So if you're 13 and if you've been watching this for an hour and 30 minutes, go to bed, especially if you're on the East Coast. We do have a TeePublic store. You just search for 6 Scale Scavengers. We have some of our different logo designs out there. We get a couple dollars from each t-shirt sale, and it's a cool way to represent the community. Say you're a scavenger. It's funny how it's became like a not necessarily a pronoun or whatever it is, but it's just like it. I don't know, boggles my mind. We have our Facebook page. We're on Instagram, kind of on Twitter. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and 6scalescavengers.libsyn.com. If you want to grab that RSS feed, throw it in your podcast catcher of choice, whether it be Apple Podcasts or like I use iCatcher, and really like that. Whew. All right, guys. Final thoughts. While Chris's furnace is rambling.
Furnace is cranking away. I'm trying to keep it on mute. I just want to say real quick, I know Mark's on the chat. I'm going to be hanging out with Mark down in New Jersey this weekend at the Empire State Star Wars Collectors Club meetup, and I look forward to that. And then also I've got some new vintage Viewport Ahsoka themed swag. So look forward to some of that potentially being, some giveaways. So great Conversation. Great time, guys.
And Chris, Rhode Island Comic-Con in November.
Yes.
Ashley Eckstein will be coming. I'm going to take you there. We're going to go meet her.
Oh, I can't wait.
Road trip, 6 Scale Scavenger meetup.
That's right.
Let's make it happen.
Hell yeah.
TC, any final thoughts?
Great show as always. Give these guys a listen. Collecting Weekly, Zach Dean and the crew with their host of shows that they have in their podcast suite of shows. They got Small Talk with Damien Dillon. Only Fools and Collecting is their third show with Ian and Pete. Those guys are from the UK, but great group of guys, great host of shows. It is certified crispy, so give them a listen.
Yep, and I think they're going to get some of those Sticker Mule. I think is doing some holographic stickers now, so I think
that's
they
right.
have
I need to upgrade this, although this is a magnet. So
I just spent like $100 on stickers for us. I don't necessarily want to do another $100 order. That's money out of my pocket. But anyways, good stuff. So, all right, guys, that is the end of episode. What is this, 38? A little bit different format this time. Chime in. Obviously, we've got our Facebook page. You can also send us an email to sixscalescavengers@gmail.com if you ever have feedback about the show, anything you'd like us to see, anything you'd like us to stop to see. You think we're a bunch of hacks, definitely let us know. We'd appreciate any feedback, but don't give us the hate mail. Just kidding. All right, Chris, my friend, bring us home.
Excelsior.